Okay, guys, I think I've just heard that the audio. All right, guys, let's get started. I think we've just established that the audio is working. So apologies for the slight delay in starting here. I had a plan to use Zoom for screen sharing to Facebook Live, but I think just because everyone's working from home, Zoom is a bit oversubscribed at the moment. So we're just going to do it on Facebook Live because I did not know they had a screen sharing feature. So Laura's gonna try and feed me questions as we go along. I've already got quite a few questions from people about food and managing food in the situation that we find ourselves in now. So first and foremost, obviously, I hope you guys are staying safe, staying inside, and generally keeping yourself, nice and healthy, sane, that sort of thing in this type of time. It is obviously a really hard time for all of us. And as a nutrition coach, I have had a lot of questions, a lot of panic about managing or continuing to manage your nutrition in times like these. They are somewhat unprecedented. To say that I've never been in a situation like this before as a coach is a bit of an understatement. But what I'm going to try and do with these Q&As is just offer a tip at the beginning and go over some concerns and common concerns that have been shared with me, and go just basically try and give you some practical tips for managing this this time. What I'm not going to do, what I'm seeing a lot of coaches doing at the moment, is trying to find sort of workarounds to, air quotes, stay on plan. So here's how you hit your protein macros. Here's how you hit your carb macros. Here's how you basically try and keep your diet as perfect as possible. I don't think that is particularly helpful for anyone right now. And I don't think that prioritizing your diet or continuing to prioritize your diet, especially if you're counting macros, if it's not serving you, if it's not making you happy, and it's causing you stress, I don't think it's particularly productive thing to carry on doing. Don't get me wrong, I have one client who is an emergency room doctor who is continuing to both diet in a calorie deficit and count his macros, because it is one thing that he can keep control of at the moment, and that is a positive thing for him. But for the majority of people, trying to hold on too tight to ideas of what your diet should look like and should be is more unproductive than not. So yeah, we're going to go over, as it says on the screen, nutrition in uncertain times, how to manage your nutrition in a positive way that keeps it stress-free and it doesn't become one more thing that you have to stress about, because we are living in a time where we've got reduced control over our food and over a lot of other things as well. So just, if you don't know who I am, my name's Sam McIntosh. I'm the nutrition and strength lead for Endure Stronger, and I've been a nutrition coach for about 5 years. I'm certified through Precision Nutrition. I'm a level 2 coach for them, and I'm also a level 2 British weightlifting coach. That's me with Laura, who is you might recognize from the Pilates classes. She is a physiotherapist and a Pilates instructor, and she's been delivering the lives that we've been doing up until this point. If you have any questions for Laura in this, then she's going to be on the stream as well. She's in the same room as me, actually, trying to keep our dogs from snoring too loudly. So if you have any questions, Laura's going to be fielding them, and feel free to ask her any questions about the Pilates classes on the side. So if we get started, as I say, the main question that I'm getting at the moment is, like, how can I possibly stay on track right now in the midst of all this stress, in the midst of limited availability of food, extremely limited in some cases. I don't know if you guys saw the BBC News article on the video of the nurse who had finished a 48-hour shift and she couldn't get any fruit and vegetables because people had been stockpiling them. And the third element, which obviously can't be ignored, is that everyone's income has taken a massive hit over the past 2 weeks, simply through not being able to work. And somewhat erroneously, I think some people think that good nutrition has to be expensive. But with that triple threat staring you at the face, if you are concerned about your health and you'd like to, keep yourself healthy with good nutrition, it does seem at first glance to be pretty impossible with those 3 factors factored in. So in the face of those 3 questions, which I'll just nip back to now, yes, you are facing a lot of stress. Yes, you are facing limited availability, and you may be facing, let's face it, some financial problems right now. If you add if you're trying to manage your nutrition in the midst of that and directly trying to either ignore those things or try to work around them, that's going to be a never-ending task, especially because things are failing every day. Are failing every day, or they're becoming less available each day, or our time, our money, or that sort of thing. The first question that you should ask yourself when you're thinking about how to manage your nutrition in these types of times with these challenges in front of you is to recenter on your goals, for whether that's for your life, for your training, and for overall, I suppose, health. So the questions to ask yourself that I've been encouraging my clients to ask themselves this week is, what do I want or need right now? So what do you want or need right now in the midst of this COVID-19 crisis? For most people, that is less stress. It is more relaxation, more mindfulness, and more connection with the people around them. But it could be different for you. I could be totally wrong. Like I say, I have clients who have chosen to stay on the strictest diet guidelines because they find comfort in exerting that type of control over their diet. Their diet is like their last bastion of things that they can control for the time being. But ask yourself, if you are worried about your nutrition, you're tuning into this, what do I want or need right now? And be really honest about that. This is not a time to be hard on yourself and say, well, no, I want chocolate, but I shouldn't have it. And I want, that type of hearty meal with my family, but I can't have it. What do you want or need emotionally, physically, mentally right now to make this experience a more comfortable one, to make this experience positive? Because at the moment, in terms of reserves of willpower, of stress, everyone is severely diminished. The second question, what do you ultimately want? So before all this happened, what were your health goals and what were your training goals, whatever they were? What do you ultimately want? Is that a sub 3 hour marathon? Is that a 2 stone weight loss? What is it? And write that down. And then the third question, you're going to have to figure out where you're going to fall in between those two things. So what you ultimately want after all of this is over, and it will be over, by the way, and what do you want or need right now in this moment to manage what is probably the biggest health crisis this country has ever seen, in modern times. So what are you willing to sacrifice or compromise right now and push back in terms of your goals for what you want right now? Like, you need to draw a line in the sand at some point. I think a lot of the stress over this type of thing is caused because people aren't giving themselves, they're not loosening the reins a little bit. So they feel like they're always deviating from their diet or goals because they haven't actually checked in on what they want or need to do, what rules need to be relaxed so they can manage this more effectively. So hopefully that makes sense. What do you want or need right now? COVID in the midst of COVID-19 and all of the accompanying stress. What do you ultimately want? So what did you want before? And what are your goals in terms of, generally in your life? And then where are you willing to fall? Where are you willing to rein back your efforts? And where do you need to rein back your efforts in order to manage, kids newly being at home, stressed finances, decreased food availability? So if you have a pen or paper right now, it'd probably be a good idea to write those questions down and to do some brainstorming later. And if you do, please feel free to either private message us on the Endure Stronger page or post on Instagram, that sort of thing, and let us know where you sort of fell, and if you want any guidance, I'm more than happy to help you with that. So if we go back here to these questions, as I said, that's my general advice for now in terms of managing your nutrition, and I'm going to keep on coming back to this in the nutrition Q&As going forward. But as for this presentation, for today's presentation, I'm going to share a key eating strategy that they teach in Precision Nutrition, and that I think every nutrition coach worth their salt should teach before teaching anything about what to eat, because it's something that is portable. You can do it literally wherever and whenever, and you can do it right now in the midst of this crisis. And it's a form of control that you can take, as I say, everywhere with you, and that you can do right now, regardless of what food is available, regardless of what's going on. It might take a little bit of getting used to, but it's definitely worth looking into as a nutrition strategy, rather than trying to look at what you eat, which, as I say, is really compromised in terms of availability and time, in terms of how much you want to weigh and measure your food right now when there's so much else going on. So this is the first habit that I teach my nutrition clients when they first come on board with me. eating slowly. It's extremely simple. 2 words: you eat slower than you usually do. It's what's called one of the PN Ank habits. The other one is about appetite regulation, and it's called Eat to 80% Full. And we'll go into that a bit more next week. But eating slowly is such a fundamental habit to eating that I almost always lead with this habit with any nutrition client, especially if they're focused on weight loss. So, and this is a kind of accelerated at this point as well. We do everything, and I think we've realized this because we've been forced to stop recently. We do everything at absolute breakneck speed. So we go to work as quickly as we can, drop off kids at school, get them dressed as quickly as we can, and we usually eat as fast as we can as well. This is bad for human physiology for a number of reasons, like digestion and gut motility and things like that. But more than anything, it kind of encourages this fast-paced way of life, which as humans we're not really designed for. Eating slowly tunes into the sort of need that most humans have in this day and age, that we just need to slow the fuck down, and also create a little bit more mindfulness and a little bit more community, especially at home, when a lot of people, like, there's been a worrying decline in how many dinners they eat at the table, and how much communication is going on in the family, which hopefully you should have. That's one of the benefits of being inside a little bit more with your family. Obviously there's a flip side for negative, but you will get to spend a bit more time with them. And eating slowly, the reason that I'm leading with it is that it slots in quite well with everything that's going on at the moment. It's a mindfulness-based practice, and everyone could use a bit of that to decrease their anxiety right now. It's totally portable and is not dependent on what you're eating. You can eat a chocolate bar slowly, you can eat a Dorito slowly, and it encourages a more communal environment at home if you're all eating slowly, and obviously that gives you more time to talk and connect. So I just thought it was a great habit to lead with. So this habit is not only good for the mindfulness side of things, and what some people might see as the woo-woo side of things, like stress less and slow down and that sort of thing. It's actually physiologically really good for you as well. So as I said, it improves your digestion if you eat slowly, and it allows what's called your satiety signals to kick in. So the problem that most people have, if they have a problem with overeating, I know this was true for me, is they eat too quickly. So it takes 20 minutes for your stomach and your brain to kind of connect, and for your stomach to let your brain know that it's had enough to eat, and it can downregulate the hunger hormones it's sending around. But if you eat in 5 minutes, obviously there's a lag in how long that takes to kick in. So if you eat very fast, you will exponentially eat a lot more before your stomach tells your brain that you're full, which usually leads to a feeling of overfullness and weight gain. The third reason, a lot of people, as I say, they're concerned, especially with decreased levels of activity and from staying inside so much, is that if you eat slowly, you will naturally eat a smaller portion. This is actually scientifically proven. They did a study at the University of Rhode Island with women, where they did a test where they had them eat at their own pace and then had them eat within a 20-minute window. And I think the overall decrease in calories per portion was in the hundreds when they had them eat slower. And they did not tell them to eat less. They just basically said, eat as slowly as you can. And it's a no-brainer to do in that case, because you're not weighing or measuring. Again, you're not introducing more measures that you need to control in your life and manage. All you have to do is just slow down. You also the fourth one, the improved hydration, that's like an indirect one as well. If you slow down when you're eating, especially if you're eating with other people, you not only talk more and connect more, but you usually drink a little bit more as well, which improves your hydration, and also, going back to the first one, improves your digestion as well. The fifth one, for anyone who's concerned about gaining weight in a time like this, if you eat slowly, if you try and shoot for a 20-minute meal, you'll feel satisfied with less food. There's no two ways about it. And the sixth one, as I said, which I feel personally is the most important one at a time like this, if you slow down your meals, you'll feel much calmer. You'll be more mindful. If you take breaks and try and think of 3 things that you can see, hear, and feel, those sorts of things, mindfulness practice, you will feel calmer overall, and hopefully you'll take that with you into the rest of the day, and it'll help you manage this whole business a lot quicker, a lot better. So tips for slow eating. A lot of the questions that I get around, and I can get to those at the end, we've already had a few come in via the Zoom feed. is, how can I do this? Because it sounds really easy. Slightly, you just eat a little bit slower, but practically when people try it, it's actually a lot harder than it sounds. So most of us don't realize how fast we eat. I know that I didn't until I tried this habit for the first time. And most people estimate that their meals take around 10 minutes to finish, whereas when they time themselves, some people take as little as 3 minutes to eat their food, which is, well, it was me, so I'm not, no judgment at all, but a lot of people don't realize how quickly they eat, is my point. So slowing down can be really, really hard to begin with. And even with these hacks that I've got in front of me right now, it can be really difficult to slow down your meals. So here's the slow eating hacks, 6 in total. Try and sit down in a calm environment. Appreciate that might not be as easy as it is for others if you have kids, especially if they're staying at home and they're extremely bored. Calm environment with minimal distractions. Ideally, this is at a kitchen table, and this is away from things like your mobile phone or the TV or anything like that. Choosing high fiber foods like broccoli, beans, lentils, any sorts of fruits and vegetables really that take more time to chew and digest really helps this along, because highly palatable food that's really easy to eat, like for example a Dorito, they don't take much time to chew, and they're super normally stimulating foods as well, so you'll be more inclined to eat them quicker. So choosing healthier foods, and again, another byproduct of eating slowly is that to do it better, you select more nutritious options. Yeah, so if you can get them, obviously stick to high fiber, fresh fruit and vegetables. But if you can't, the dry store foods, like I said, like beans and lentils, once they're soaked, even when they're soaked, they're very high fiber and take more time to break down. So choosing those options will really help you here. Putting your fork and knife down in between bites. This is a great one. It's such a simple one, but it really does help slow things down if you put your utensils down, because then you're not feeling like you're hovering over your plate and trying to, you're basically just waiting to eat again. Trying to set a minimum number of chews per bite. There is that old wisdom that 28 chews per bite is the best thing. I don't know about you, but it feels like everything turns to liquid when I try and do that. So they say, or I find as well, that just trying for 15 is actually, more of an achievable sort of setting. So if you're not chewing your food lots, and if you're not a slow eater at the moment, starting with 15 is a great place to start. If you find yourself rushing, and this is really, really important to remember, it's really okay. Most of us, as I said, eat too fast. I think eat a little bit too fast. I definitely don't get 20-minute meals each time. So just don't worry. If you find that you have a bit of a heart sinking first attempt and you get rid of all your food in 3 to 4, 5 minutes, just try adding 1 minute on to each meal, and see how you get on, because even slowing down a little bit, you'll really feel the benefit. Setting a time to eat as well, and I think this is really important for the situation that we're in right now. Setting aside 20 or 30 minutes for each meal. This not only means that you have an opportunity to sit down with minimal distractions, but you have time allotted to spend time with your family and keep up, social communications, and not just communications that you have to do in order to keep things sane in your house. There's social, enjoyable conversations that you can have at dinner, rather than how the hell are we going to manage stressful conversations that you probably need to have at other points during the day. So that's basically it. A real crash, whiz-bang sort of tour through slow eating. I really think, as I say, it might seem a little bit left field, and we will move on to things, more practical tips about how you can make the most of dry store food, how you can sort of simplify your meals and make them just as nutritious pretty much, with easier to get options and that sort of thing. But I thought I'd lead in with this one because this is something that you can put in your back pocket straight away and feel like you have more control over the situation, especially if you're concerned about gaining weight. So that on the screen right now, that's a quote from Stephen Covey, who wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Between stimulus and response, you always have the freedom to choose. And that is especially true with this habit. You might feel like a lot of things are out of your control at the moment. You might not be eating the food that particularly you want to eat or that you're used to eating because of availability. And everything, if feels like it might be a little bit out of control at the moment, as in the stimulus is outside of your control, but the response is definitely something you can always choose. And you can always, whatever is in front of you, whether it's chocolate cake or a plate of broccoli, choose and control how fast you eat it. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions about the eating slowly habit. And like I say, if you do, if I just go back to the start, the questions to ask, like what about what you need or want right now, what you ultimately want, and the compromise that you're going to have to make in between to make this sort of period work. Definitely, if you have any thoughts on that, just post in the live stream or private message me if you're more comfortable doing that. We are here to help in this period. That's something that is our absolute priority right now, making sure that our followers, clients, everyone in our community gets through this as healthfully as they can and with minimal stress, emphasis on minimal stress. So do make sure that you take us up on our offers for help, because we really, really need it. So questions, as I say, I've already got some come through from the Zoom stream, and I'm going to start off with a really good one. I really like the idea of eating slowly and I feel better when I do it, but I find my food gets cold when I take 20 minutes meals. What do you suggest for this? Really obvious one, but I would just reheat it in the microwave. Like, honestly, I think that I'm not as much of a stickler for this as I know other people are. Like, my mum and my sister are really funny about eating cold food that's supposed to be hot, or cooler food that's supposed to be boiling hot, and you might be like this as well. Honestly, just reheat it. I would say if it gets too cold for you to eat and you're not finding it appetizing anymore, reheat the food. And if you don't have a microwave and it's that important to you, it's just something you're going to think about. Like, is it worth I'm going to putting this into a pan and reheating it, or even just keeping your oven on at a low temperature whilst you're eating and putting half of it on your plate and keeping the other half warm in the oven? Really, whatever works. But yeah, that is a great question, as I said, because a lot of people are funny about the temperature of their food. So hopefully that helps. If it doesn't, just comment again in the Zoom or in the Facebook feed. Love to eat slowly, but okay, not going to repeat what this woman says about her kids, but basically I think the gist is that having kids around can make it super hard to sit down and have a calming, mindful meal. And I totally get that. Not a parent myself, but my sister has a young niece and nephew, and yeah, you definitely can't the sit down and shut up, especially at a period like this when they'll probably be sensing that something's wrong and they're going a bit stir crazy, to say the least, themselves, from being inside all the time. It may be that you won't always have the opportunity to eat slowly at every meal. Again, perfection is going to be the total enemy here. And when I say eat slowly, it's like try and eat slowly when and where you can. So maybe you could try it in a meal after they've gone to bed. Maybe you could ask your partner for even just one meal a day that you can practice eating slowly. Try not to think of this as advice like eat slowly, do it for 20 minutes, and do it every meal that you can. It's not really like that. Even just doing this a little bit more at one meal, or for a few more minutes at each meal, as much as you can, as mindfully as you can, that's not always going to be possible in the real world. Even when you're inside all the time and your schedule is totally turned inside out. But yeah, just try to move away from I need to do this at every sort of meal for it to be effective. It's effective no whether you're doing it on a scale of 2 out of 10 or whether you're doing it at a 10 out of 10. So yeah, hopefully that helps. As I say, I'm not a parent myself, but my sister has 2 young children and she is an assistant coach for my nutrition company. So I might actually I'm going to write a note here to do a chat with her about managing this sort of thing with kids as well, because she has direct experience, and as you parents will know, that is the only type of experience that counts. 20 minutes seems too much for me. Again, going back to that perfection thing, if 20 minutes seems too much, literally just work with what you've got. And if you've got 5-minute meals, take up to 6 to 7, progress it really as slowly as you want. Like I say, it's going to be effective no matter how little or much you do. Obviously, it's better if you do it more, and you'll find it more useful probably if you do it more, and you'll get more effectiveness from it. But if it seems too much and it feels too much and it's too much of an ask, the rule is, and this is something I learned at PN as well, if you don't feel on a scale of confidence 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 comfortable that you can achieve a goal, you're probably not going to achieve it, and it's too much of a stretch right now. So if 20 minutes seems like too much and you're thinking, well, there's like a 5 out of 10 chance that I'll do that at any given meal, scale it right back. And for 5 minutes, from 5 minutes, say, okay, how confident are you that 6 minutes you'd be able to do it, then okay, I'm 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 confident I can do that. Then go with that and progress it up as your confidence increases. So okay, let's have a look. I've just been given a few more questions. Should I eat slower when I have more distractions for TV, music? Yeah, again, I'm going to go back to this and sound like a broken record, but the perfection thing, if you find initially that you eat slower when you have a distraction like the TV or music or your phone or anything, then yeah, go for it. If that's what it takes for you to just ease yourself into eating slowly. And I think actually in the PN curriculum, you're a level 2 eater. So there's level 1, which is like a sort of an elementary sort of eater. Most people are level 1. I'd say most of the time I'm a level 1, where you have pretty good eating habits. And level 2 is like you're an athlete and they usually have a spreadsheet about their food and they have their habits under pretty much complete control. Eating completely without distraction is a level 2 quality. It's something that takes time to refine and a habit that really takes a lot to refine. So yeah, absolutely have distractions in there if it helps you to eat slower. The question was phrased like, should I have a distraction? Don't think that, no, I wouldn't say that you need to have one. As I said, not having them is actually is better, is optimal, but we're not going for optimal or perfect right now, just something that'll get you to eat a little bit slower and be a bit more mindful. I would say as well, regarding the distraction, I would see the mealtime as a time to connect with your family or roommates or friends, whoever you're self-isolating with, and having that social interaction, because we really can't overstate how important it is to keep those going in a time where we're isolating more than usual. Humans are communal creatures and they will suffer if they're not socializing as much as we're sort of bred to. Next question. Should I use chopsticks as utensils to slow down? Yeah, that's a great idea. If you're like me, you can't use chopsticks at all, and you kind of resort to spearing your food with them and eating it like that, which is extremely hard. Definitely makes me eat slower. But if you do have some kind of prowess with chopsticks and you eat slower with them, there's actually a big theory for why the Japanese have such good longevity and sort of good BMI ratios and things like that. It's because they eat with chopsticks, so it forces them to eat quicker. So yeah, great idea. Tip to eat without distractions as I live alone. As I say, if you live alone, it depends. Well, if you live alone right now and you're missing social interaction, or you feel like you could use with a bit of white noise when you're eating. I know that sometimes, and this is coming from someone who works from home a lot, so this schedule disruption for me isn't as disruptive as it is for most people. Sometimes the silence for me, even though I live with 2 dogs, when I'm home alone all day, can be a bit too much. So when I eat or when I'm just doing when I eat or when I'm doing housework or something like that, I do have a podcast or something on in the background, just because the silence is a little bit oppressive. Don't get me wrong, I love my own company. I am cut out for working from home, as I'm a bit of an introvert, but sometimes the silence can be a bit too much. So really experiment with some stuff if you're struggling with that, especially at a time of isolation like this. So ocean sounds. I think for feelings of loneliness, for me, a podcast is really great because it's like someone's having a conversation in the room with you. So maybe, yeah, ocean sounds, calming things like that. Anything that that you feel helps. But if you live alone and you don't want any distractions, they're my top tips. If you sorry, let me rephrase that. If you need some distraction, if you need a little bit of white noise, they're my top tips. But if you live alone and you want to eat without distractions, and it's a chance for you to practice mindfully if you're in conference calls and things like that all day, then yeah, I'd encourage that too. And obviously it's going to be a lot easier. It's a lot easier for us who work from home alone. So it'd be a good chance to sort of take your skills to the next level. Again, if you have the mental space to do that, and if you have the inclination to do that, and you're finding it helpful for your overall health and not just your nutrition. I really can't stress that enough. And I think that's all the questions that we have right now. Just checked with Laura, but I think that's a good note to end on, is that nutrition is a part of our deep health, and that deep health includes our stress levels, our levels of contentment, how we relate to other people, our movement strategies, things like that. It's a part of that. And it definitely, especially at a time like this, shouldn't be prioritized over keeping our stress levels low, making sure we're staying in touch with other humans and with our families. It's something that you can definitely bring alongside, and it's a part of feeling healthier at a time like this. I definitely don't think that this is a time to park on the couch with a bag of Cheetos and an Easter egg and not do anything else for the rest of the day. I think there's a time and a place for letting go like that for a few hours or so. I know that I definitely have over the past week, but spending the next 3, 6, 9, 12 weeks doing that type of thing, I don't think will make you any happier. But on the flip side, if you try and control too much and you try and stay super healthy and you try and take on all of these health tips from all of these coaches who are giving them out online, you will stress yourself out and it will totally defeat the point. So that's in line with my coaching strategy anyway. Yes, I'm a nutrition coach. That's what I do. That is literally my job and how I make money. But I'm a firm believer in managing your stress and your sleep as a priority before your nutrition, because there is nothing that your nutrition can do to overcome heightened levels of stress. And there's nothing your nutrition can do to overcome poor sleep as well. So hopefully you've got that impression from this presentation that's where we fall on this type of thing. We will do, obviously we're at Endure Stronger, we serve the running community and the triathlon community, as well as other athletic communities. We will do, I will do, should I say, a presentation on managing what to eat. And even, for the autumn, if you want to do a seminar on marathon nutrition, endurance nutrition, yeah, absolutely. I've got all those resources ready to go. But I just thought leading in, and for these live Q&As that we're doing free for the public, we're talking about general health and keeping yourself in the best mindset that you can, keeping yourself well equipped and ready to go, literally ready for battle, because this might as well be wartime at the moment in terms of our mental and physical health.